Hey guys, welcome to Motion Weekly. This week I'm talking to Edward Tudor. Edward Tudor is a magician from Auckland, New Zealand. That's something that I didn't think I'd ever get on the show, but it's surprisingly entrepreneurial, which is something that I didn't actually realize. But yeah, and he's also a Brazilian, he also does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and there's just a whole lot of topics that I didn't think would be in here, but they are in here. Like we did touch on things like depression, we touched on things like getting out of doing a 9 to 5, on like going to university instead of doing entrepreneurship, and then seeing how you can take yourself from I don't believe I can actually do anything to taking yourself to actually a level where you believe that you can do shit, because there's a lot of people who don't realize that this kind of stuff is possible. Like he's literally making a career as a magician. So if you don't think that you can do your thing, then it's probably dumb and you're just being stupid. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Walsham Weekly. I'd say it's quite a good one. So yeah, enjoy the episode and have a good day.
I'm gonna show you how great I am.
Everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than
Everybody
you.
has time. Stop watching Lost.
I love what I do, and that's why I'm doing what I love.
Hey guys, welcome to Walsham Weekly. This week I'm here with Eduard Todor, a YouTuber, a magician, and a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artist. How did you get into this whole thing of magic and YouTube, and how did this all start?
All right, so magic for me started way back young. Like I was probably like 13, I want to say year 9, yeah. It was just like in English class, we would just like have, I don't know why we had a pack of cards. I think we were playing cards or something.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine showed me like a really simple magic trick, and it fooled the shit out of me. And I was like, wait, like, okay, tell me how it's done, right? And he wouldn't tell me. I think I like pestered him for hours, and finally he told me how it's done. And then I was like, holy moly. So I went home and I looked up some like card tricks on YouTube, like to try to fool him, right? So I went back the next day, fooled him, and it was just like a competition back and forth, like who could like, get away with a crazier thing. And eventually we just got like really good. Like he stopped a while ago, but yeah, I've just kept going and going and going. So that's kind of how I got into magic. But YouTube is very like recent, very, very recent, like 6 months ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how is it like, cause when you first start with like magic, where do you go and learn? Do you go and learn from someone doing a tutorial on YouTube, or do you learn from just playing around, or is it sort of like you learn the basic tricks? Is it kind of like how you learn skateboarding tricks? Like you learn the basic ones, then those help you learn the next ones?
Yeah, in a way, it's very similar. I mean, like initially I started off YouTube. Back then, YouTube was it was quite a bad place to learn. Nowadays, there's actually really, really good magicians that are teaching and like high level, high quality tutorials, and you really build a solid foundation. But back then, it was a little bit, it wasn't that good. So you would have to like get DVDs from like professional magicians, or that you get books. And it's like there's a lot of like theory that goes into it. But yeah, the moves themselves, they just build up on each other. So that's really, you like learn the basics, and you go more advanced and more advanced and more, and then eventually, you get to like really hard stuff.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into magic. But YouTube, basically, so my thing was I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to go into medicine.
Yeah.
And I went into health science, which is pre-med here in New Zealand, or whoever's listening.
Yeah.
I went into health science at university, and I just hated it. I absolutely hated it. Like, I was just not my vibe. I was like, I don't want to study for however many hours a day. Like, this is shit. Like, I don't want to be here, right?
Yeah.
So I took some time off. Like, I dropped out basically, and just like try to figure out what I want to do. I was like, I don't like anything. A lot of like academia, but I just didn't like. And I started watching a lot of like Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, dudes that I just like. And mostly Gary Vee, like he talked about how if you're good at something, and if you're even to be good at something that you like, you're already like halfway there, and you just need to grind and like go all in on that thing. And so I decided like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna start doing the social media thing around this thing that I'm already good at, that I kind of enjoy. And I was like trying to figure out, okay, so what do I, because I can't magic every day, because I want to do daily content. That's like a big thing, right?
Yeah.
So I can't do magic every day for 10 minutes of video and still have new content to make. You know what I'm saying? It's super hard. So I was like, okay, what can I even do? And I used to watch these. I still watch them actually, like hip hop reaction channels. Some of them like are really really entertaining for me. And they have like a couple of dudes that have like over 1 million subscribers. And I was like, okay, so what are these guys doing? Because reactions normally are perceived as kind of low tier content. So I was like, what are these guys doing that's actually making them successful? And like they're actually providing value through their content. So I started looking at it, and I noticed common trends. They would like have a format in their videos. They did a freestyle at the beginning of the video, then they'd like watch the video, then they might talk about it, So I basically took that and just did it to magic, and no one was doing that. Like literally no one was doing reactions to, like, especially from a magician's perspective, a reaction to a magic, and then giving thoughts about it without revealing it, right? Because that's like a big part of what I do. I don't want to give away the secrets or whatever. And so literally, like, I had no competition, and because the format that I had already established the format from I basically took it from a different genre. It was already like good stuff.
Yeah.
I was kind of like loved it. Like I did like 4 or 5 videos, and I was getting like 10 views a video, and then I came on America's Got Talent, and he had that. You might have seen videos of it floating around with the coins traveling on his table.
I have no clue.
Like 15,000 views overnight, and then it just kept growing and growing and growing. Like as I was refreshing it, just like instant.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, what about if I make another video about Will Tsai, since he's like trending right now, And then I just kind of kept adding to that, and just trial and error, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, and eventually I started being able to like reproduce this kind of, like, I used to kind of be able to like kind of see that, okay, that's going to be trending, so I need to make a video about that. Kind of a follower base, like they would actually watch everything I put out, as opposed to just the things that are trending. And so I'm still working on that side now, and that was like 6 months ago, something like that. And now I've managed to grow my YouTube to about 18,000.
Yeah, so like, what is the from here, that you're already blowing up, and that you've gotten over that first hump of like videos that aren't catching on. How do you what's your plan to take this to being your job, or do you want this to be your job, or what's the plan for the next steps?
Right, yeah. So actually that's one of the big things. Right now I'm working on kind of creating money out of it, right? The thing is, my biggest thing is I don't actually do ads yet, which is kind of crazy to a lot of people. But I just don't, the amount of money I would make from ads at this level is just not worth the amount of people I'd turn away with them. So I don't even put it. But I know, just from a business standpoint, if you have an audience, you can sell things. Yeah. And that's pretty simple. So I'm looking into different ways of monetizing through my audience. So right now I'd have a Patreon that's kind of just for like buying equipment for my videos and stuff. So I get a bit of money from that, but that's not my main thing. But yeah, in terms of right now, I'm actually working, like I work construction, and while doing daily videos, which is pretty hard. Yeah. And while training and stuff. Yeah. But so I'm looking into kind of different products I can sell. Like, because the thing is, I have a very interesting audience. I have quite a few magicians that watch me, and then also some non-magicians that watch me. And to magicians, I can sell a lot of my magic products, right? Like my magic ideas. I can make it, like I have some moves that I could potentially sell to them, and they would buy them to, like, in exchange for the tutorial. There's a lot of things I can play with that. For the non-magicians, I have to play it in a different way, right? Because they're not really going to care about some specific move that I came up with or whatever. Yeah. So I'm into monetizing online, but also in real life. So I'm looking into like currently working on developing some content, some street magic, and kind of like local, actually live performing, and then promoting that through Instagram locally. Yeah. Basically, if you ask anyone in New Zealand, who, like, can they name a local magician? They're not going to be able to. Yeah. It's just not going to happen. So the point is, there's a niche that's not filled. Yeah, and how do you go about? Because I have never been to. I think when I was like 6, I went and saw a magician. Like, is it like a huge subculture that I don't know about, or is it just like a small thing that there's a few people at the top that are making it their full-time gig? Yeah, and the funny thing is, most likely what you saw when you were 6 was like a really bad magician too. Like just based on like probability, he was probably bad. Like the average level of magic is not very high. But I mean, the thing is, in New Zealand, the culture around magic just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
New Zealand's probably one of the like worst, like it's just, I don't know why, but it just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like most of the time, that's the first time anyone's ever seen a magician. And
Yeah.
so like there's nothing that they can compare it to, you know? It's like I spent like 6 years of my life working on one specific move, but they don't know if it's good or not because they've never seen anything else, right?
Yeah.
So but yeah, like the thing is in New Zealand, it's very, very, it's just not a big culture. It's just not an explored, like even, you know, like in terms of the magic scene here, it's not that many people, relatively. So I look at that as an opportunity because if, you know what I'm saying? Like if I was in America, I have to go against all these big names, David Blaine, David Copperfield, Penn and Teller, like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's these huge English names that you're like actively competing with. Whereas in New Zealand, if all you have to do is get known as the magician guy, and then that's it, right? Because there's no one else. So yeah, my strategy is definitely like running local ads with content that I know would be really good for that. So for example, I have plans of doing street magic, possibly outside bars and clubs at night when people are drunk and they have like the reactions and stuff.
Yeah.
Filming that and then running that, like getting highlights of that and running ads through Instagram and stuff like that locally and Facebook maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also just, you know, working on building landing pages and things that for clients and, you know, corporate and private clients that want to like hire. You know, with the social media that I have, I can demonstrate value without really doing anything. So I need to actually get like the conversions happening.
Yeah, and how do you like? Because even just from talking to you for a few minutes now, I've sort of noticed that you're obviously very business oriented. Have you always sort of been like? Have you always sort of seen things in this way of sort of like everything can be turned into an investment and everything can be turned into a product, but it has to be marketed in the right way? Have you always sort of felt like you weren't going to do the 9 to 5, or did you think you were going to have a very normal sort of career path?
Yeah, honestly, I was never the money kid. Like I was never the kid that sold lollies on the bus. You know what I mean? Like I was never the guy that like would always like try to make money with everything. I actually didn't really care about money. And I always thought I'd be like either medicine or like psychology or something around that. I don't know why that was my thing even as a kid. So but as I kind of like tried that, I realized I hated it, and I was like, well, how do I? Like I don't want to have to work. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to have to work. I want to work because I want to work. So how do I do that? And then I started looking into passive income and investing, and I started talking to all these business people and listening to Gary Vee all the time. And so just like out of that kind of, you know, just talking to all these people and getting ideas from you know, like I'm currently talking to a couple of like brand coaches, like social media coaches, people that have like started up like 4 or 5 successful businesses, getting into contact with like a lot of like very successful entrepreneurs, like just like kind of like being around that environment and just talking and kind of talking about doing, and they're giving me ideas, and so I'm starting to think like they're thinking. So I'm just like noticing the trends of how to think and how to plan out, and like, you know, what you can do with once you have an audience, once you've built a brand, once you know what I mean. But it's been you know, kind of like over the couple 2 like I think like maybe last 2 years I started developing that kind of mentality. Like once I realized like university was not for me, I was like, what do I do? And then I started like I went on like of content about business, branding, networking, all that kind of stuff. But I had always been into like self-development, so I think I felt like it was a natural thing. It was just like, now I'm not developing my social life and I'm not developing my confidence, and in a state I'm developing like financial things, you know. It was just like a shift of mentality, I think.
And like, because for a lot of people, I feel like they don't see any other option than doing the university path or doing some other kind of path, doing an internship, all those kinds of things. What makes, like, how do you take that leap of faith into, hey, I'm just going to YOLO and I'm going to go for this completely like unconventional career path, but it could have huge rewards, but it's also extremely risky. Do you have any advice for someone who wants to do that kind of career path?
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I think for me, it wasn't so much that I took a leap of faith or I was like, I'm going all in this. I was fully prepared to like for it not to work. And the thing is, I had talent. I just wasn't sure if like it was even like, to be honest, like before it works, you don't quite believe it's going to work. You just trust like other people telling you it's going to work, and you trust that other people have done it, so it must work. But you don't quite believe it. Like it's not really in your reality. So you're kind of just like, you know what, I'm just going to do this, and then just going to like, I'm just basically doing it as a challenge in a way. So that's what happened for me. And, you know, when my first video blew up, that's when I was like, oh, okay, I can actually do this. Like, this is actually something that's going to, like, I could actually, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for me, it was always like, I'm going to work a full-time job. That my main thing was I'm going to work, save as much money as I can, like live with my parents, do whatever it takes, and invest. And then like invest enough to the point where I can income. Like my main goal. I don't even care about like magic was just a hobby for me.
Yeah.
But then when I realized like, oh, this could actually work. Now like even my investment money, I've like invested a lot of my money into magic now. You know, like I've bought new equipment to film, and like because I realized its potential. But it took a long time. Like it took, you know, my initial thing was I wanted to do 30 days of daily uploads on YouTube and see where it takes me. Yeah. That was and then, you know, after I would reevaluate, take a step back and figure out what to do. Yeah. But it just ended up being the right formula, and it ended up working. However, I think for other people, what they need to do, like, because a lot of it is trial and error. You have to try things. Like, I think this is a Gary Vee concept, but if you like, people always try to calibrate beforehand. They always try to think like, oh, okay, so but would this work? Would this not work? What if it doesn't work? Oh, but like then we have that problem. Oh, but you know, no, stop that shit. You need to do something, take action, see the result, whatever, if it's good or bad, use that information to calibrate your next action. Because like you don't know what's going to happen. You absolutely have no idea. Yeah. Even the first video that blew up, a lot of people hated it because I had already seen the video that I was reacting to before I reacted to it. Like I saw the video, I was like, oh, okay, this is a good one to react to, and then I made a video about it, and people hated that. So I took that information and made sure that I hadn't seen the video in the next one. Yeah. So like now every time I watch a video, it's the first time I'm watching it. So like there's a lot of things that you're just gonna have to learn on the job, like learn while you're doing, calibrate after every time. Like people are so afraid to fail and so afraid to like for it not to. You have to understand it's not going to work until it does, and you have to try to figure out what that thing is that makes it work. And the only way you figure that out is by failing multiple times. You know? Yeah. So if I had stopped after my first video, which got 10 views, then I wouldn't do anything. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. How do you find that thing that you want to just go and throw yourself at and see what happens, and then just if it fails, cool, but like how did you know YouTube was the right thing, or how did you know that was just the right platform for you? It's funny because I actually had a YouTube channel when I was younger. I was like about 12 or something, and I was doing I was basically like just copying Ray William Johnson, to be honest. Like, and I remember I made like maybe 4 or 5 videos or something, and I got to like 11 subscribers, and I was like all excited about it. And then my mom made me delete it for some reason. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, I had to delete it. So in the back of my mind, I always knew it was like something I would enjoy having, like just like having a platform to kind of do stuff on. Yeah. And I guess I had like slight experience with YouTube, not much, but a little bit. So I was like, I know I need to build a brand. I know I need because here's the thing, right? For me, it was very normal. It was very natural. Because what I had realized is magic is such a strange art in the sense that the people watching, the spectators, don't really can't really put a finger on how good a magician is. They can fooled, you know, if they don't know how it's done. They can put a finger on if it's entertaining. But they don't really have a gauge of saying, oh, he's really good or he's really bad. Like I could do a move that took me maybe 4 years to learn, right? And you know, and basically what it does, it makes every card in the pack like the same card. It's not. Or I can go to the magic store and buy a $3 pack of cards that does like a trick deck that does the exact thing for me. And you wouldn't be able to know if it's that or if it's the skill, right? So for me, it was like, okay, so like spectators don't actually care how good you are, even though like I care because, you know, it's my art and it's what I enjoy doing. But spectators don't care how good you are. They care about being entertaining, and you you know, like your branding and marketing and the fact that they're getting fooled. So I figured, well, a lot of these top magicians, David Blaine, guys you might have heard of, Chris Angel, aren't necessarily the best magicians in the world. They just got the really good branding. They just have that like entertainment aspect. They just have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I realized, like, if I can build a brand around me being a magician, then that way I can convert that some way down the line into money, right? And so for me, it was kind of a little transition. I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to do this for Instagram. I need to figure out how to do this for YouTube. I need to, Facebook's still something I'm lacking behind. Like, I don't really do anything for Facebook, but I probably should. It's just so much things I need to be doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it was quite a natural thing. For most people, if they don't have a specific like hobby or something that they're really, really passionate about, they might just have to go and do a lot of things and just test and try and see what they enjoy doing. Like I've seen people with successful YouTube channels that do movie reviews. Like someone that really enjoys movies just started a YouTube channel about movies, right? Like if you really enjoyed, watching Netflix, then you can start reviewing all the up and coming shows, like whatever it is, like whatever your thing is, like just, you have to, if you don't have it yet, you'll have to actually go out and try the different things and see what works for you. But if you know what you enjoy already, then it's just a matter of figuring out how you can make relevant content around that. That's also kind of trending and that can actually has the ability of getting traffic in,
Yeah. Like when it comes to, like, because you said about skill, when it comes to being skilled as a magician now, like, and when you realize that the people that are watching don't necessarily care about skill or know what, like, the difference between the best and the nearly the best, how do you sort of gauge now between working on improving your skill as a magician and working on improving your skill as a content creator?
Well, okay. I'm always improving my skill as a magician, just because that's what I've been doing that for 7 years. I just sat, like, for most of my time, I just sat in front of a mirror practicing moves and like didn't even perform really. So that's just something that I've always done, and I will continue to do just for myself even.
Yeah.
But the skill, what it does is it basically allows me to accomplish better things with less. So for example, I can do a lot of things that other magicians can't with an actual normal pack of cards. I could get a borrowed pack of cards and do a lot of things that other people can't do. And it's completely like a normal pack of cards. Whereas someone else that has less skilled might have to use a trick deck, and they might have to use something else. And then they're more limited as to where they can perform it. Like if someone grabs it out of their hand, they're screwed. So it's like, it just allows more options. Doesn't necessarily change how you perceive the magic that much.
Yeah.
A lot of the top guys, like I see a lot of like magic that goes big, Penn and Teller, blah, blah, blah. And it's just a really, really, really good performance based around a very simple concept. And, a lot of the times it's not really that much skill involved. Sometimes it is, and sometimes that's what makes it cool, But like some of the big acts, man, there's really, really not that much skill involved. But the performance is what really drives it, which is, I love that aspect of it. Now, in terms of content creating, that just happens naturally because I'm doing daily videos.
Yeah.
So, like, you know what I mean? After doing 160 something videos, you're going to get better at it.
Yeah.
You're going to get better at talking to the camera. You're going to get better at, cutting, editing. My cinematography and, actual content, I guess, quality is really not that good, but that's not what drives my videos. My thing is kind of my personality and my analysis. But even that's getting better just based on the fact that I'm always constantly doing it. I'm always, I start to see trends like, oh, okay, that angle didn't work last time. This lighting wasn't that good. But even now, like I'm looking to buy new lighting for my videos. So I'm always constantly, just the fact that I'm doing it all the time, it does definitely make me better at it. And it's the same, magic is actually the one thing that I have to kind of make sure I keep up with, because it's so easy now to like to do a video and it's like, oh, okay, that's my video done for today, and just relax. And I always I kind of make sure I have a pack of cards in my, even now I have a pack of cards in my hand and I'm practicing a move, or like I just have to make sure I'm always doing that. But with if I have to do daily content, then that's going to kind of take care of itself. Like the quality and just like the skill level behind making the content just takes care. If you do it every day,
Yeah. What about like when it comes to things like, how do you be sort of diverse when it comes to other magicians? Like, is that a factor? Because I guess the audience doesn't know all the tricks and we don't know that kind of stuff, but like, is there an issue with how do you like be diverse and be different to those other magicians when they're learning stuff from similar people, like especially when you first start out, like, and when you get to such a high level? Is it that like all the top magicians are doing different tricks, or are they doing relatively similar things, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting one, because magic is very unique in that sense. Like, for example, in comedy, if you get caught using someone else's joke, that's like you get crucified, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know what, you have to use 100% your own stuff. Whereas magic, like literally there's websites where you can go and buy tricks, and these are tricks that like David Blaine has done. These are tricks that you know what I mean, and he buys them from the same places. It's just he's already got the networking and the branding, and when he does it on a TV special, it's like, whoa, but it's like been around for a while. But yeah, so a lot of magicians kind of do a lot of the same stuff, whether that's because there's only like a limited number of things you can do with a pack of cards,
Yeah.
or whether that's because it's the same props, or from a magic website or whatever, or some magic supplier. So that's the thing. I think magic is, you have to, the unique aspect of magic has to come in your performance and in your presentation of the effect. So for example, the way I perform all my magic is I kind of bring it back to, like, my persona in magic is kind of this dude that can cards, and he's like this, but he never really like hustles, like he never like steals your money or whatever, but he could if he wanted to, and like maybe even like read your body language and figure out king, and like just this kind of like hustler gambler guy that like all my magic that I do, I basically relate back to gambling. Like, you're never gonna hear me say like, oh, a card goes to the middle of the pack and it magically comes to the top. I think that's like stupid as hell.
Yeah.
And I think most people, I mean, if you're claiming that you're using magic powers, that's like, no one believes that, and especially Western audiences, it's like lying to your audience is stupid. So I always say, like, I'm doing this, it's all skill, and like, look how good I am, and like, almost like I almost make a game out of them trying to catch me out, but they never quite get there.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of my way of performing. Other people, and I'm trying to bring more of a comedic aspect into my performances. That's actively working on. I'm going to start doing stand-up comedy, just to help with that as well, which I'm not looking forward to, because I feel like I'm gonna just like bomb on.
Yeah, because that's like an incredibly scary thing to
but
do.
like a lot of other people, definitely, definitely,
It's just
especially when I can't rely on magic, which is like my one performance thing.
Yeah, that's like, because when it, like, if I ever, even just with podcasts, it's like initially just talking to people who I've like seen online, like I used to shit myself, but now it's pretty relaxed. But I definitely could not get up in front of people and do this.
Yeah. I mean, you get used to it, man. Like, honestly, like the first few times, even like the first like 20 times I was talking to the camera, it felt so awkward, and I was kind of filtering myself, and like I didn't know what to say, and but now it's like I've done it so much, it's like it just, as soon as the camera's on, I go, and I actually got just as a little side note, I got literally, I went to the magician's show in Aotea Square. There was this really big, I got free tickets and stuff through Connect, but anyway, I went up there, and one of the the media directors or producers or something ran me down. He's like, bro, I watch your videos. Do you mind getting some thoughts on camera after the show? Yeah. So, and I was like, yeah, for sure. And he's like, not camera shy? I'm like, dude, you know who you're talking to. Like, you know me off YouTube. How can I be camera shy? Yeah. So as soon as like the camera came on, I just went straight into my like YouTuber mind frame and started blabbering about magic, but yeah.
Oh yeah, once I like get into the role of like, once a microphone is in front of me, or I'm like just sort of in this mood, it just completely changes the way I talk. And sometimes I'll be like talking to my friends, and then I'll start talking in like my podcaster voice, and like in that sort of way, and it's kind of weird. Do you ever find that there's crossover, or like your friends, like, do you ever like sneakily tell your friends how you do things, or how like secretive are you when it comes to magic?
Yeah, no, I don't. The thing is, I have a lot of friends that have either done magic, or they saw me do it when I was starting out, and so like they caught me out with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Because when you're starting, like, you're gonna get caught so much. Like a lot of the stuff you do because you suck. So it's like, so some of the people that are close to me kind of know some of my stuff. Like my parents, like I can hardly. So But yeah, if it's someone that I'm like close to, that I met, or whatever, I usually don't tell them really. Like it's not the fact that, like, if they ask me, I won't even tell them. But sometimes, like, I'll explain concepts. Like if I think a trick is more interesting if you see the method, sometimes like that happens. Like a trick is not even that cool, but if you know the method behind it, it makes it like a million times cooler.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll explain those. But for majority of things, I don't really talk about. And just because I like to be able to perform, like if I can perform for them, and like still give them that experience, I'd rather actually perform than explain what I'm doing.
Yeah. So it's like, because like if people try to ask and try to sort of figure it out, can that change the whole experience of the trick?
Well, I mean, a lot of people do, and I think it's a natural thing. Like if you see something you don't understand, you want to know how it's done. Like it makes total sense. Like I'm not against that idea. However, they're not going to get that information from me.
Yeah. Like, is that like against the whole
if
code?
someone's really interested to learn, like, yeah, to a degree. I mean, for sure. Like revealing is very looked down upon. But if someone wanted to like literally learn how to do magic, like they wanted to learn how to start doing it, then there's no barriers. Like I explain everything. So it's not like where like I'm like, oh no, secrets of the trade. No. Like if you actually want to learn, like yeah, okay, let's do it. But if it's just for the sake of you knowing how it's done, then I don't typically say anything.
What about like how do you find that ever since you started this, your personality and your confidence and like even just talking to regular people, like do you feel like you sort of upgraded that area of your life?
100%. I mean, I used to be really, really shy. Like not the thing is I'm an extrovert, but I had like mad social anxiety when I was younger, which is a very strange combination because you want to talk but you can't, and like especially like second guessing yourself and like that kind of stuff is just so bad, so toxic. But the thing is, the magic was never like a performance thing for me. Like for the time, I was just super interested in the like the actual mechanics of certain moves. I would like be super interested in making something look like it's happening that's not happening. I didn't even care about sharing that. Like I was like really like, obsessed about just seeing it work in the mirror and just doing it. And so for the longest time, I didn't actually use it to really socialize or anything. And when I was about 17, I started looking into a lot of like personal development and like just like big on being able to just talk to people, meet people, like talk to just anyone, you know what I'm saying? Like just out of, like not being stifled, having confidence, all that kind of stuff. And like a lot of self-development. I read a lot of, just did a lot of that kind of stuff. So my confidence started building, it's a slow process, but it started building over time anyway. And then I started performing magic a little bit more, and especially since starting this channel, I've been performing like pretty much everywhere because everywhere I go, it's like, oh, it's the guy that magic, and then I have to perform for the whole party,
Yeah.
But so like ever since I started like magic, that's also been a huge boost because I started getting really good at socializing, but I was still kind of scared of getting caught out with magic and moves for some reason.
Yeah.
And then but I was like okay with like just meeting new people. But then once I started performing a lot more, like that fear also went away. So now it's like I can just combine the two. Like like maybe a month ago I was in Long Room, which is a club in Ponsonby, and literally went on the outside area and people were taking a selfie. So I was like, yo, just play around. I went in the selfie and then like, yo, what's your Instagram? Let me tag you, right? As soon as I give them my Instagram, what pops up? Magician and YouTuber, blah, blah. Like, oh, you're a magician. Okay, cool. Show us something, right? So I started performing for them.
Yeah.
And literally before I know it, like the whole outside area of like Long Room is like just like around me. And I'm like doing magic to everyone. And then like the bouncer comes and I do magic to him. And he leaves and he brings his other bouncer friend and I do it to him. And then the waitress comes and I do it to her. And then she leaves and brings the waitress and I do it. And it's like the whole like outside area of the club just knew who I was instantly. Like within like 10 minutes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's definitely a really cool thing to be able to do, and like I definitely use it a lot more now, and I'm way more confident, and like I just don't really care about what people think that much anymore, But it used to be a big problem for me.
Yeah, like because I definitely, for me with podcasting, there's never like something like that. I don't think that would ever happen. It's not going to be like, oh wow, you can do podcast. I don't know. It's like you can't perform a you can't perform that live or anything like that. But it's like I definitely find my confidence is like skyrocketed just because even like this is talking. So it's like I find it much easier just to blab at a camera now. Do you find like with MMA, how does that overact and does that like how does that interact with the rest of your life with YouTubing, with doing magic? How does that sort of interact with the rest of it?
Well, I think, I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so only the grappling aspect. I'm not taking punches to the head yet, so there's no negatives, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like there's long-term and short-term benefits that I gain from it. Long-term, what it's done, it's like, because I used to, when I was really, really young, I went to kind of it wasn't the best school, and, a lot of fights, a lot of bullying, a lot of aggression, and you know what I mean? Like, I had like anger management issues and all that kind of stuff. So, once I like left that school and I, as I went through school, like, as I got older and stuff, that stopped happening. So I stopped being angry and you know what I mean? Now I'm like super chill. But the problem is that left a hole because that was my like self-defense mechanism. I'd get angry and then I'll just jump up at a fight or whatever, right? So now it's like, I'm calm. I don't have that that switch where I'll just get angry at if someone like starts anything. So I always felt like kind of like I just didn't feel sure. Like, you know what I mean? Like if I was like walking around the city at night, drunk, people, whatever, I'd just always be wary. Like I'd be like, ooh, like I know anything could happen at any time, like in the back of my head, and I don't think I'm prepared for it. So I just didn't feel confident in myself. And so jiu-jitsu long term did that. You know what I mean? Like I've been doing it like almost 3 years maybe. And like it's such a good feeling. Some big rugby player comes into the gym like brand new, and just out technique them, and it's like wow, like you can see you can see all the hard work they went in, you can see all the and you just feel confident being able to do that to people. And at the same time it's like this kind of community because you're all learning from each other, you're like helping each other grow. It's like a kind of like a family, so you're getting that aspect of it as well. But in terms of short term, I find like if I have any kind of problem, if I have any kind of like stress, anxiety, anything, and I go to jiu-jitsu, like after training, I'm just zenned out. Like I'm just chill. Like I remember I went through a period of like depression, like right after I left university, I was like kind of depressed for a while. And I remember like I would have all these like negative thoughts, like negative spirals and stuff. And my biggest thing that I did was I would say to myself, is this like, if I'll think about this thought that I'm having right now, like I won't give it any importance right now. What I'll do is I'll think about this right after training, and if I still think this is an issue, then I'll address it. So that's how I managed to, because when you're depressed, you don't know if it's like a legitimate concern or if it's just a depressive thought. Like sometimes you might be like, oh, I'm not like helping the people around me, or like I'm not worth anything or whatever, right? And so sometimes there might actually be a legitimate thing, like maybe you're being super selfish, but it might just be a depressive thought. So how I would deal with, I will think about this after training, and I know, because I know that's when I'm like clear-minded and I have no issues like being like rational. And if it's still an issue, then I'll and most of the times, that went away as soon as I trained. And so like I use it for a lot of things. Like if I'm stress relief, I use it for like the endorphins. It's just that rush. Also just being able to like focus. I find like if I don't train, that my productivity goes down. So there's a lot of kind of like build up, and like it's such a good tool for me, like just self-developing. Like it's probably one of the best decisions I've ever made starting jiu-jitsu.
And like back on the depression, because I've done a few episodes on that, because I went through a time where I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have any direction, and then I found self-development. Is the like way you sort of got out of that through self-development, or was it through MMA, or how did you sort of get out of that, if you don't mind saying?
I mean, yeah, for sure. So basically, I mean, it's a combination, right? For me, I used one of the things that I was looking into when I was in that state was I would look at a lot of like the actual hard evidence, right? And a lot of studies seem to show that physical exercise is about as effective in treating depression as antidepressants. So if it's like a free way of treating depression, why would you not do it, right? Like it's just like, you know what I'm saying? So and I didn't want to take medication because I was never like suicidal I was never like super like low, you know what I mean? Like if I got to that point, I would have definitely went on medication.
Yeah.
However, like it was never contemplated suicide. Never. It was just always just like no energy, low self-esteem, just sadness. You know what I mean? Like kind of like numb. You know, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I looked into all the details, but I didn't want to take medication simply because I'm ADHD, so I've experienced with a lot of the ADHD medication, and it kind of like messed me up. Like not messed me up like for long term, but while it's like I just couldn't handle that state change. The crashes were terrible, so I just didn't want my like to work to like screw up with my like transmitters or whatever any more than I already have, and I don't even take my prescription now, but so yeah, I just wanted to try to figure it out without taking antidepressants. Yeah. Because of also, especially all the negative side effects that they have and stuff like that. So I did a lot of exercise. That was like my baseline. So my baseline was exercise, nutrition, and sleep. Those were the three things that I would try to keep like ahead of. If in the day I was able to do all those three things, that would be for me a success. Yeah. Because I knew if you just do these things properly, that will take care of it. But while I was doing that, I was also reading, like into self-development, into Gary Vee, finding the drive, finding the motivation, finding like kind of a purpose, something to work towards, like, so it was kind of a stacking of all these different concepts. It's like the fundamentals were, nutrition, exercise, and sleep. But long-term, you need to figure out, okay, what do I want to do? What makes me happy? And for me, it was like, well, I know that sitting behind a book for 8 hours a day is not making me happy at all. However, connecting with people and like partying and just like chilling out with people and just being around that vibe, like is super, like that's my thing. And so turns out like I was good at this one thing that does all those things for me. Like magic, literally, once I started performing, I was like, why didn't I do this sooner? Like, it's like literally the best thing ever. Like, so yeah, that's how I got out of it for me. And it was, it took a while, like, because when you're in that state, your default is to go back into those negative thought patterns. Yeah. So every time I would notice a negative thought pattern, I would immediately stop what I was thinking, replace that thought with a positive thought, even though I didn't believe it, just to train those neural connections to fire on those positive thoughts. And like, you know what I mean? And over time, you start to develop that, like it's the same with, getting, I don't know, rejected at a club or in a job interview or something. If your default is to like be bummed out, but if you train yourself to figure out, oh no, there's plenty more opportunities, there's plenty more girls, there's plenty more, whatever it is, like whatever it is that you're trying to train yourself to, then over time your default becomes, oh, it's whatever. So now it's like, oh, that interview didn't work out, or that opportunity didn't work out. There's plenty more where that came from. Yeah. So again, it's like that's like self-development, but it's such a simple concept. But if you do that repeatedly over time, you will definitely get out of that hole.
Yeah, I definitely found like when I was like I don't know if I was depressed or whatever, but I found when I really put an emphasis on like improving myself and focusing on what I can actually change and what I can do and all the things, like I started exercising heaps. I started trying to create things. I started trying to sort of just figure out why I was sort of unhappy or not content with what I had. And yeah, I feel like it just changed everything. Do you find now that like you can be really, you find it easier to be really sort of grateful for everything that you have now?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the thing is, that like novelty has kind of worn off for me, Like I remember when my first couple of videos was been crazy. I was like on cloud nine, like you know what I'm saying? Like I was just like, holy shit, like But like now it's like I just like, oh cool, and now the video did well. All right, cool. I don't even check my subscriber count anymore. Like it's like it's kind of worn out, but I'm still like super grateful for, like I mean obviously for the people that are following me, but also for like past me, if that makes any sense, because these last 6 months I had to sacrifice a lot to get to where I am, and I was thinking ahead, like I was saying future me will thank me, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like I'm glad I was able to do all those things that I set myself to do, and through that like feeling of gratefulness or whatever, I'm thinking ahead again. I'm saying in a year's time it's going to be even better if I continue this. In 2 years I'm going to be, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, definitely like just appreciating what you have and using that as a drive to keep doing. That's how I see it.
Yeah, definitely. Like I find like when I look at, oh wait, look where I've come from, where I started, and then I'm like, holy wow, if I keep working, then I'll get to something that I can't even imagine now. So it's always quite a driver.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, like, it's crazy to me how people don't realize the fact that, like, I mean, it's not crazy because I was like that. But now that I've like done stuff and I understand that it's possible, like it's in my reality that it's possible. It's like if you spent the amount of time you spent on a university degree building a personal brand about whatever the hell you're passionate about, count in the trial and error, count in all the times that it won't work, count in all the learning experiences, count in like the time that everything. If you spent the amount of time like someone spends on like a general, like on a, whatever engineering degree or whatever it is, you would be like, you would make it. Like you could 4 years of your life if you dedicated like almost every day to like trying to figure out a way to build this brand that you want to build. And that they might go through many different stages. You might have to change up what your idea is. You might have to, whatever that takes. But like, you would make it. Like it just takes time and effort and work. You know what I mean? Like, if you're smart about it, if you're not just doing the same thing over and over again.
I definitely find like the thing is with most people is I don't think they like definitely don't see like any possibility in it, or they just don't see like it even being slightly a thing that they could do, or like they just see, oh, that's not me. I'm not the guy who goes and creates stuff. But it's like that's you're not until you start it, until you actually go and do it, and then once you've done it, you're like, holy shit, what else can I do? It's like
100%.
What would your advice be to
like,
someone who
Gary Vee says it best?
Go on.
Sorry, carry on. I'll probably answer it as I answer your question.
Oh no, I was gonna wrap up.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Gary Vee says it best. If someone that looks like you remotely, looks like you, 2 arms and 2 legs, has done it, most likely you can do it as well. Now, we're not talking about like breaking world records. We're not talking about what I'm saying. But if someone else has built a brand, why can't you do it? Do you know what I mean? Like it's not like people. The biggest misconception is that it's luck. Oh, you have to get lucky. No, really not. You don't, like, it's timing. Like there'll be lucky moments. Yeah. But if I stopped after the first video that blew up, which would say it was lucky because I didn't actually know what I was doing, right? If I stopped after that, I wouldn't be anywhere. Like if I just relied on that one piece of luck, then I'd be nowhere, right? So you have like, it's the timing and opportunities, but you have to put in the work, and then that will come to you. So I think most people, that's like the biggest holds people back, is they think it's down to luck. Like they think getting famous is like luck, and while that definitely happens to some people, it's not the way, like, you know what I mean? Like the man's not hot guy, what I'm talking about?
That guy,
the meme. Yeah. That, like, everyone thinks he's like an overnight success, and like he just came up with that. But if you actually look at, like, he's done many other like comedy skits, he's done like many other like non-successful like acting roles, and like he's tried a lot of shit before something hit. So it's really rarely an overnight success. Very rarely. And if it is, like, that's great, but if it's not, you just keep working and eventually you'll get there. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's the one thing I can say. It's like, realize that it's not luck. Realize that if someone else has done it, then there's got to be a way to do it. And look at all these people that are doing it and see, what are they doing? What are they, like, you know what I mean? See the top YouTubers, you notice, like, they're talking about trending topics. They try to be relevant. They try, tags that are being searched. So try to do the same thing. Try to do content about tags very relevant, maybe current events, whatever, like, try to, like, and then see what works and what doesn't. And again, trial and error. Don't be afraid to go wrong and learn from the mistakes, because if you try to calibrate beforehand, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to actually fail, figure out why that didn't work, and then change the next thing, and then see if that works. And then if that didn't work, why? And then change the next thing, right? And that's like, you just keep doing that until it works. There's no other way.
Yeah, because it's pretty much like you have to keep like making shit hit the fan until it flows through the fan or whatever. Like it's obviously there's going to be a few people who get that one lucky thing. They post one thing and it goes viral, but it's like those people who do get that one thing that goes viral and they haven't put in the work beforehand, they're not going to capitalize on it, and it's just going to be like, okay, cool, I have a viral video, but it's like, and what? So it's like,
Exactly. They're not even gonna know. They're not even gonna know what to do with it.
yeah. So it's like, it's got to be in the right hands, you know. So what would you say? What would your final piece of advice be to someone who wants to start something like this? They might have a little idea of a skill in mind, or they might have something in mind that they think that they could turn into a business or turn into a YouTube project. What would your advice be?
Honestly, it's basically, I think the biggest thing for me, my biggest issue when I was starting out is I almost saw my work as an extension of me. And when you do that, it's very dangerous because if something doesn't work out, you start to take that very personally. If you comment, you start to take that very personally. And even though for me, I am my own brand. Like, I am a walking brand. But I've detached myself from the idea of that, right? Like, who I am in my personal life. I mean, I'm myself in my videos, don't get me wrong, but if I get a hate comment on my videos, I don't take that in any way personally.
Yeah.
At all. You know? Sometimes I'll get, like, I'll laugh at them in my videos and, you know, I'll make fun of it, or I'll kind of like be angry just for comedic effect, but it really, like, I don't really care, you know what I mean? In fact, I actually want them to have that hate thing, because then it drives more traffic to my videos.
Yeah.
Like, the more, you know, the point is, if you can detach yourself from whatever you're doing, okay? Like, my biggest issue was I was so attached to my work that if it wasn't perfect, I felt like I couldn't post it, or I felt like if I had to be perfect, otherwise people would judge me for it, right? But if you just detach yourself from the work you're doing, just say, this is just a piece of content that does not reflect who I am in any way. You upload it, and then you receive feedback from the market, right? It's like in business, you know, the market tells you if it's good or not.
Yeah.
So, and then you take that feedback with no ego about it, no ego, absolutely zero, and then keep doing that. Eventually you get it. And that was my biggest issue. I was very perfectionist, like a very big perfectionist. It was so hard. Sometimes I wouldn't even want to post a video. Like, if I wasn't 100% happy with it, I'd be like, I didn't even want to click it, but I had to force myself to click the upload button, even though I was like, kind of like, I had anxiety in my chest about what people were going to say about it. And I just trained myself to not like stop myself from putting out content just because I didn't feel good about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, you do that every day, eventually you're going to get used to it. And, you know, like, now looking back, there's some videos where I'm like, oh, that was pretty shitty. But I learned things about, you know, YouTube and things like that I can apply in later videos. And better now because of those videos. So I can't really isolate that. You know, you have to have those bad projects. You have to have those, like, screw ups. So again, if you basically see yourself as your own work, you're not going to make it, because any sort of small little pushback, any hater, anyone that doesn't like your thing, you're going to be bummed out, and you're going to stop doing what you need to do. But if you just have patience, you detach yourself from outcome, you just put in the work, and then you treat it as like almost like a challenge. See how long you can do it. Do a 30-day thing. Every day you have to do whatever you know, like, for me it was daily videos. For you it might be something else, you know. For you it might be like, you know, writing out, brainstorming content ideas for your podcast, or question ideas, or whatever it is, right? But if you do it every day, and detach yourself from the outcome, not care about it, just upload and see the feedback, and then use that to basically improve your next ones. I don't even see how you could go wrong. Like, if you're actually being objective about what your flaws are and where you're going wrong, and you're actually striving to improve, eventually you'll get to a point where people like what you're doing. Yeah.
Damn right, man. I definitely think it's like, that's something that I struggle with a lot, because I've made a few podcasts where I look at them and I'm like, oh, I don't know what value people get out of that. But then I've clicked the upload button and people have told me, hey, man, this podcast was lit, because there was one where my friend bought a MacBook because of the podcast, because I talked about the MacBook in such a passionate way, and I just thought it was a dumb thing I just enjoyed making. And I didn't even expect anything like that to come out of it. But it's like, I didn't, like, a lot of the things that I think of, that I don't think are going to be the best, turn out to be better than I thought they would.
Yeah, and you can't, again, it's back to not calibrating beforehand. You can't know what that thing is. Like, you don't know what's going to hit and what's not going to hit. But, like, now you know. So now you might, if you buy, like, a new phone that you really like, you might talk about it because you know some people might get a value out of it, right? So, again, like, just being no filter, you know, just not caring about exactly, like, when you worry about your content quality to the point where, like, you're obsessing about it, it's toxic. You should definitely try to do like quality and good content.
Yeah.
But it's always like, well, someone might enjoy it, someone will probably enjoy it, and then you put it out. It's always the case.
Yeah, and it's just adding to the collection, even if it like turns into, even if it gets 0 views, whatever. It's like, it's something you'll learn, like, okay, it's trash, whatever, like, cool, but then next time you say, okay, I probably did this wrong because mic quality was something, but it was bad, or I asked boring questions or something like that, and it's pretty cool.
One of the things you can think about. Yeah, one of the things you can think about is you can think about it as documenting the journey. Again, Gary Vee talks about this a lot. When you will, like, in 3 years' time, when you're like this big name, right? You'll be able to go back and tell people that they're like, bro, yeah, but you're famous. You don't know what it's like, dude. Go back and watch this video that's so shit, right? And look where I came from, and like, I don't want to hear excuses, right? So, like, that's the best thing about it. Like, when you finally do make it, and you have this whole record of like all the work you put in to get there. So if you basically filter yourself and don't put out a piece of content, that's one piece of the story that you're not going to be able to show to people.
Too right, man. I don't know. It's like it's a long journey, but it's like once you get to the end, and you can look back and be like, wow, look at all the stuff that you've created, and just how long have you been making videos for now?
Around 6 months.
And how many videos have you made?
Yeah, around 6 months. But the thing is, 160, I think, 165, like, something like that.
Over like 1,000 minutes of content. It's a ton of content in 6 months, and it's like,
yeah, heaps.
Try watch that in one sitting. Like, good luck. It's like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the thing is, like, the thing is, what people think, it's like, oh, once you get to the end, well, there is no end, really.
Yeah.
It's just the journey. That's all there is. It's not like you get somewhere and you're like, oh, well, I'm famous enough now, I can chill. Well, I mean, you can, but you could always make more money. You could always influence more people. You could always give more value. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you think The Rock is, I'm kind of done with stuff right now. No, he's still out there making movies and stuff. He's like one of the biggest names out there. So like,
yeah. So it's like he's not just gonna stop and chill and just, oh, it's time to relax now.
Hey guys, thank you very much for listening to this episode. I would love if you'd check Edward out on his YouTube channel. I'll have that linked in the show notes. If you don't know how to find that, then you should go on whatever app you're on and search around. It'll be called the description or the show notes. And for iTunes, all you do is scroll down. And I don't know how you do it for other places, but on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, it'll just be in the description. If you're watching this on iTunes, it should just be in the show notes. And on any other place, it will just be in the show notes. So yeah, I would also love if you guys would check me out, like on my YouTube, on my Facebook, or on my blog. That would be greatly appreciated. I'd also love if you'd subscribe or leave a review. So yeah, thank you guys very much for listening, and have a good night.